So Trey, the probably one of the hottest topics, especially going down as of late in the NBA, is James Harden and Daryl Morey. Did you see the footage of James Harden in China calling Daryl Morey a liar and saying that he refuses to play for a team that still has Daryl Morey under the system?
Not only did I see it, I heard it as he read it back like it was like he was a Hitman Holler like it was a Hitman Holler remix verse.
Remix.
So he read it back, and I was like, I thought the brother was about to come out the cut and be like, "Yo, let me get him." So it was crazy, man. It's funny how he did it in China. Of course, we know with the situation that popped off with Morey a couple of years ago, and I just wondered what happened. I thought that was his man.
Bro, I swore those two were like this.
For real. Yeah.
I'm thinking the main reason why James is in Philadelphia now is because of Daryl Morey. Like for him to go to China, say what he said, double down on it, and still hasn't taken it back. I mean, I'm a little bit blown away, but I don't really want to trip on James Harden as much. I want to know what Daryl Morey said. What did he actually lie about? Let's get to that part.
Well, what I think what it is, and I don't know, it's all speculation. Is I think what happened is basically Daryl Morey told James to go ahead, opt in. So saying now they got him on a low 38 million, and now they're backtracking, and he's gone and he's asked for a king's ransom to move James to his perspective, his where he wants to go. And from what I understand, the talk is that he's asking too much. There's no one's going to give that for James Harden, Agent James Harden. And so at this point now, Daryl Morey's backtracking, talking about, hey, I think we can work with James and we can work with him here and to help to bring a championship to Philadelphia. And James is like, that's not what we discussed. I think that's what the situation is.
Because I saw Kyrie Irving speaking on it. I even saw Danny Green speaking on it. And Kyrie, he was giving a little bit of detail, talking about contract
Mm-hmm.
negotiations, and these guys were alluding to Daryl Morey promising James Harden something that he didn't receive. But I'm kind of surprised that those guys, I call it dry snitching, because James Harden
Mm.
never, disclosed any info on really what was going on specifically. So these guys, were putting it out there in detail. And Kyrie, was real funny to me that Kyrie was taking up for James Harden, because shit, James Harden was the other reason why he's in Philly. I
Why
mean,
Kyrie?
Kyrie's the other reason why James Harden is in Philly now, because he didn't want to play with Kyrie in Brooklyn. And when Kyrie was going through his stuff, James Harden didn't stand by his side at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Harden looked at that situation like it was toxic, and he wanted to be gone. So to see Kyrie now trying to take up for James Harden, giving out details with that Harden, haven't disclosed, I thought that was kind of funny. But
So
you know,
we oh go ahead.
no. I'm just saying, James Harden, he turned the heat up when we talk about these trade talks. He's definitely, turned the temperature up, calling the GM out
So
like this.
one of the things in which I look at it basically it comes down to one, business is business. So when you look at it, in state is, regardless of it's an under the table handshake or whatever the case may be, Daryl Morey has an obligation to the organization that pays him. And at this point, James Harden, because he opted in, is under contract, which means they can do whatever they want, regardless, unless there's something that a piece of paper that's written in state is that piece of paper that they sign, and it's a contract. And so he's honestly at the yeah, just like your Scrub Zero said, James bought it on himself, man. He put himself in that position, and it's unfortunate, and that's probably why he feels a certain type of way. He's feeling like Michael Orr right now, to where he's basically he's, because it's like, yo, I thought I signed this, and this is what was going on, and here it is. Now I'm finding out that that's not the real, and it's unfortunate for him. But that contract, like my man Stu, like my man in Boondocks contract, and that no one wants to hear that, but that's what it is. He's on that contract, and now he's at the mercy of what Daryl Morey does with him. To save face for Daryl Morey, of course, he wants to be a stand up executive, and he don't want it out there that he's grimy and he tends to tell lies to get what he wants, and then he backtrack. But that's what it's looking like. It's unfortunate for James.
There was a report that came out today that James Harden is willing. Let me bring BA on.
BA.
BA in the building, man. Get your bars up. What's up, brother?
I'm in the mix, man. I just got back from Portland probably about an hour and 15 minutes ago. So I'm getting it together. You already know.
Salute to my guy BA. So BA, we just getting things started. We're talking about probably the hottest topic going down in the NBA now is the James Harden versus Daryl Morey situation. James Harden calling him a liar, putting it out there that he don't want to play for a team that has Daryl Morey under the umbrella. To go back to what you were saying, Trey, like one thing that I'm noticing is James Harden is going to find his way out of Philadelphia, but I don't think he's going to find his way in the destination that he's looking for because he doesn't have that much leverage in this situation.
Mm-hmm. So he does it. When you look at it, it's even, and then just recently I seen reports, I can't remember where I seen it at, that he's now saying it doesn't have to be the Clippers. He just wants to go.
Right.
So at this point, and so, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, what does that look like? Like, what are y'all willing to give up? If y'all was GMs right now, what are you willing to give up for James Harden? He's reinvented himself, but how much has he reinvented himself?
BA, did you see the video of him calling out Daryl Morey?
Yeah, it was a force out scare tactic.
Were you surprised that he took that move?
Nah, because when you desperate and you really want to go somewhere, which right now he's at the end of his career, and he's done this throughout his career. He just did this a year and a half ago. He probably wants to most likely finish his career in LA. That's his home. Yeah, he wants to go back home for the rest of his career. I think that I don't think he has issues with Daryl Morey because Daryl Morey has given him anything and everything. Has given him the world during his career. And if I'm not mistaken, Daryl Morey is the reason why he even went to Philly.
That's what Trey and I was talking about. You know, outside of the Kyrie situation, just Philly as a destination. I felt like Daryl Morey played an incredible role in that, seeing how their relationship was dating back to the Houston Rockets.
Yeah,
man, this was very interesting to me. And Daryl Morey, he put it out there like he don't really care about the name calling. You know, he's going to do what's best for the organization, like Trey said. So it's not impossible that they wouldn't move James Harden. But I'm like, okay, James Harden want to go to the Clippers. If Philly was to move him to the Clippers, more than likely they're going to be asking for the Paul George at least. And, you know, what's the point of James Harden going to the Clippers if they can't keep that core that they already have? So, you know, James Harden saying that he's willing to play in another destination, Trey, I think is cap. BA, I think is cap, because we know, just like BA said, looking at his career, if he plays for a team that has no shot at really winning a title, he's going to quit on them. He's going to quit on them. So we're going to wind up in the same situation next year, depending on the team that, you know, winds up getting him. And if I'm not mistaken, his contract, he has a player option next year. So even if he stayed in Philly, we could be doing the same thing all over again next offseason. So the saga continues with Harden and the Philadelphia 76ers. But I'm going to be real, BA. I was surprised that he straight out called Daryl Morey a liar, and double down, said it twice. Like, let's not get it twisted. It blew me away.
I'm not surprised. He's one of these players where, like, the reason why I'm really not surprised, he's one of these players that he will get in front of the camera where it's millions of people watching and say something ridiculous, stating like he did it in Houston. I don't want to be here. When he went to Brooklyn. And he was in Brooklyn. He looked at the cameras and said, I don't want to be here, really. I'm not feeling the atmosphere. And they had to ship him off. So he's been saying this, but he had to take it a step further to try to get his way. But hopefully they can get him. they can get something good for him. If not, he might be not playing this season, or he might have to retire early.
Interesting. Trey, if you had to be a betting man, a gambling man, where will James Harden be playing by the time the playoffs start?
By the time the playoffs starts, I think what will potentially happen, depending on if there's any teams that's struggling out there and they're willing to be desperate, he will probably be in LA. He probably make it in LA, the Clippers in state. But that means basically he's left Philly. He went somewhere that he wasn't particular of, and basically the team that picked him up is holding on to that little 38 because at the end state he's going to get 38 million. That's the end. That's the end of this. That's the end of the topic. Unless he does a buyout with Philadelphia, and then he becomes a free agent that owns his own rights. But for the most part, unless that happens, then that's basically what it is. And I see Daryl Morey, just like BA was talking about. Maybe this could be a ruse. Maybe this is a situation where James and Daryl concocted this. They, they doing it. It's like, it's like Drake and Meek Mill is beefing, and all of a sudden, and then a couple of months later, after Drake done body him, now they're on a track together. So it's basically at the end state, it could be one of those situations, which is far fetched in a sense, but it can happen. So I think end state is, if it comes down to where you're talking about by the trade deadline, potentially I think James might end up at his destination of choice, but it might not happen the way we thought it would happen.
I think that he might.
What about you? Where is he going to wind
up? He's gonna end up probably. He's gonna end up in somewhere like Toronto or somewhere probably. If I don't think Ty Lue wants that. I don't think Ty Lue wants that energy, bro. I don't think the Clippers want that type of energy, especially with Russell Westbrook on that roster as well. Like I don't see him going to. I don't see him. I just don't see him leaving Philly to a playoff contender. I don't. And then if this is real, then the way that Daryl Morey plays is he's gonna play hardball with him and yo, we're not gonna let you go anywhere. And if we do trade you, we're gonna trade you to who we want to trade you to. We're not gonna trade you to where you want to go.
Yeah. And so of course I don't want it like that. Of course, I don't want it like that because that means can you imagine a California connection of Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George all in the same team? Like that's probably, even with the way that things has been going, what happens if they just all decide we're gonna run it back the clock and we're gonna basically play like we're in our prime, and Kawhi and Paul can go a whole year? That's detrimental to LA, to the Lakers. Like I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think he's probably gonna remain in Philly. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, unless he becomes such a problem, unless he becomes such a problem, I don't think Daryl Morey is going to be shaking at all. Like BA said, he's going to do what's best for the organization, and I don't think there's a deal out there that's going to match the value of, I guess, what people feel like James Harden brings to the table. So he's going to be sitting, I think, in Philly for at least 82 games unhappy.
He could have got his year. He could have got his money. They were offering him what? In Brooklyn, they offered him what? 3 years, 160, I think, or it was something. It was something ridiculous. And it was more than that. It was actually that was about 160 for 3 years, and that's crazy.
I think that's why he's pushed that, which in this case, it really could be a situation to where Daryl Morey messed him over. Like he could have basically not opted out. He could have been a free agent and he could be somewhere getting ready to go to camp with somebody potentially that would have offered him some money. He would be like, okay, I'll take that. I think that's one of the reasons why potentially it could be a situation where he said, Morey, you lied to me, and I'm not, saying he messed up for his livelihood. He opted in. Now he's Philly.
But it's one of those things where, like, did Daryl really lie to him? Because what did you do?
Okay, I feel you.
You didn't produce to the standard that you said you were going to produce when you got here. Because I went out to go get you because I still see that guy that was in Houston putting up 36, 12, and 8.
MVP.
That guy.
MVP.
Yeah. Like he's no longer that guy. Ever since he tore that hamstring. Ever since he tore that hamstring, he ain't been the same player. But I guarantee you, he was talking to Daryl behind the scenes through whatever, saying, "Yo, I'm back. I'm 100%. Trust me." And Daryl took that shot and made him promises, and they both lied to each other.
And now now Morey's like, nah, you still owe me, fam.
Exactly.
Genuine in this joint.
I like that take, fellas. That's real talk right there. I want to talk about the Miami Heat. I want to read this statement off to y'all and get y'all opinion. This is coming from Bam Adebayo. He says that the Miami Heat deserves more respect. According to Bam, he says we've been to 2 finals in the last 4 years. We've been to 3 Eastern Conference finals in the last 4 years. And I don't think anybody else in the Eastern Conference has done that in the last 4 years. And we're doing it with 60% of our roster being undrafted. Does the Miami Heat deserve more respect and credit than the NBA community gives them, fellas?
I think Jimmy Butler deserves more respect. I don't know about the whole roster. Hey, and Eric Spoelstra. You feel
I was about to say,
like it's particular people that people respect. Bam Adebayo, salute to you, sir. Salute to you. But you ain't consistent. You feel me? You got all of these other. You got people like Jimmy Butler, or Jimmy Buckets, as I say.
Carrying Harris over me.
Yeah, hey, for real. Carrying your squad. You got your coach going extra, motivating everybody. Bam, you solid, you good, but hey, we don't even know how far y'all gonna make it this year.
I disagree totally with Bam. I mean, when you look at the real fans of basketball, the real fans of the NBA, even if you're not a fan of the Miami Heat, they get the respect I think that they deserve. I don't think no one underrates the Miami Heat. They're a blue collar grinding team. We've always put those titles on that team when we describe how they give it up. You know, the Heat culture has always been a sort of winning type of culture or environment. So we've always put respect on their name, I believe. I don't know what Bam is talking about, because when they went to these finals, they didn't win. So, you know what I mean? They didn't get the job done. So that's one thing. I did see something earlier today. You brought up Jimmy Butler, BA. The Celtics at one time had tried trading for Jimmy Butler when he was with the Chicago Bulls, but the asking price had included 2 first-round draft picks, which Boston didn't give up. And those 2 first-round draft picks wound up being Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
So what if Jimmy would have been in Boston, and Jaylen and Jason would have been in the Chicago Bulls? That would have been crazy.
I don't know how he would have did in Boston.
Jimmy?
He would have Jimmy Butler. Like, I don't know how he would have been. He would have went to Boston, and I don't know how it would have turned out.
Kyrie would have been there with Kyrie, right?
Yeah. Well, would he have been?
Yeah, he'd have been there with Kyrie.
Yeah. I don't
Gordon Hayward.
With Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving on the floor at the same time, they dope. But nah, that wouldn't work. It wouldn't have worked. I think everything worked the way it was supposed to.
Because they still had to go against LeBron at the end of the day, so they wasn't going to win anything. He still had to go against the King. So what we talking about? Trey, what do you think though, Trey? Does the Miami Heat? Do you agree with Bam that the Miami Heat deserve more respect?
So I think I'm going along the lines of what BA was just talking about. In-state is Spoelstra and Jimmy. I think Jimmy's an underrated player, although he kind of faded away. He pulled a DeMar DeRozan later on. But for the most part, Eric Spoelstra is that person that I think in the organization that if anyone should get any accolades or should be talked about, it should be Eric Spoelstra. He went from obscurity to not be anyone who we heard of, and he's still doing it. And there's no LeBron, there's no Wade, there's no Bosh, none of those people. So when we talk about the respect, I'm not going to necessarily say the organization, but definitely, ideally, Eric Spoelstra is a person in that locker room that deserves the conversation. And then after that becomes Butler. But again, just like we've talked about Daryl or Robert Morey, is like, yeah, you say you're doing this, but what have you really done? And what have we really done? Like you was just saying, Seven. What has Jimmy Butler done? I set forward, put them in position to be at 2 finals in which he didn't be able to win either one, and 3 Western Conference championships in which the 2 finals and the one that didn't. So it's like, what really are we talking about? What we talking about? Consolation prizes now?
That's right.
They got
exactly.
smoked. Truth be told, when they made it that far, with unexpected, surprisingly, they got smoked. Every time they made it to the finish line, they got smoked. The series wasn't even close.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's a fact. Speaking of head coaches, I want to talk about my Lakers head coach real quick, man. Darwin Ham. Not that he's done anything wrong, but seeing how my team is constructed, seeing the projection and what some of the fans are saying about the Lakers, would y'all consider this season being a hot seat season for Darwin Ham?
Yes. And I say, the reason why I say yes is because they have the pieces from the beginning of the year to make it far. They have to make it to the finals. This year, they have to make it to the finals.
Really?
Yeah, they have to make it to the finals this year. The Western Conference Finals is not good enough. They can make it to the finals and lose, and they'll be okay. But they have to make it to the finals with the roster that they got constructed, and then the key players that they brought in to build up the roster, because they have a great team right now on paper. On paper, they look great. They look top 3-ish in the NBA, not the Western Conference, but in the NBA, they look top 3-ish.
Let me tell you something, BA. You don't want to see LeBron in the finals. That's your worst nightmare.
You know what time it is. You know what I'm hoping for. You know what I'm hoping. I'm hoping for a play-in. I'm hoping for them to have to battle for a play-in. But hey, to keep it 100 as a basketball purist as I am, keep it 100. They have a dope squad on paper.
They really do. They really do. For the first time, the Lakers in a couple years, they're going into the season not really having a concern about making trades during the All-Star break. Like, they really literally could finish with the team that they started. And now to think that might have been the first time it's happened since LeBron has been in Los Angeles. That's why I feel like Darwin Ham is going to be a little bit on the hot seat. More eyes is going to be on him more than ever to see how he's going to be able to execute, deal with these rotations and things of that nature, dealing with management, putting players in position to be successful. I think you have to take the training wheels off of Darwin Ham. And if he's not able to, push it to the limit.
Jeannie got to quit. Jeannie, she got to be put in savage mode. She going savage mode. And he's like, yo,
she has to. Woman?
Yeah.
She has to.
I think I could agree with y'all what you say. I think he is the reason I think he is in hot seat mode is because now there's some good names that are out there available to be coaching now. Doc Rivers, if they want to play that angle, Mark Jackson, these people ain't got no job now. Yeah. Another like these are some coaches that have had some success in some ways and form or fashion, to where now when you look at you're potentially going to be without a agent LeBron, he's going to be on out maybe after this year if he decides to leave, and now you have AD that's supposedly your king. Even if not AD, there's other people out there because the Lakers is one of those organizations that people want to come play for, regardless if they're winning or losing, off the mystique of I can turn this around and I could be in the lore. So it's just one of those things. So that's why I think he's going to be in the hot seat, because if you're not getting the job done, we're going to Frank Vogel you, and that's just it.
And let Frank Vogel mess around in Phoenix and win a chip this year. Let that happen. That's gonna look crazy, bro. It's gonna make the organization from top to bottom look crazy if he goes.
But that definitely rivals. I mean, Kevin Booker, Booker, Beal, and KD. That's a problem. Like, that's
smart, right? But if he goes to lead that, because remember, he did win a championship with JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo, LeBron, AD. They had a nice squad. They had Caruso, all of them had a nice squad, but they got rid of him. They cut him quick. They didn't even give him a chance after winning the championship to continue to build up. And
they got rid of the whole roster.
Yeah,
3 years in a row, they got rid of the whole roster. Like, are we paying attention to this? 3 years in a row, the Lakers have basically reinvented themselves 3 years in a row.
That's a fact. That's the fact.
BA, year 21. This is year 21 for LeBron, right?
The GM. Okay.
Let me explain and run down the records that he is potentially going to break this season. 40,000 points, right? That's the first player in NBA history with 40,000 points and makes a new club as the only player in history with 40,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 10,000 assists. That's one record.
40 10.
He's going to be making his 20th All-Star game if he makes the All-Star. That's the most selections ever, passing Kobe Bryant, I believe. Was that Kobe tied with him? Or was that Bill Russell? I can't believe one of those two.
Anyway. Stop it.
He's going to be 7th all-time in 3 points made. The guy who y'all say can't shoot, 7th all-time in 3 points made. He's going to be 8th all-time in steals. He surpassed Gary Payton last season. So he's going to be top 10 in steals all time. And he's going to reach the 11,000 rebound mark. All happening next season. How is LeBron James not the GOAT? Explain to me, BA. I keep running these things down to you every time we meet.
Man, I do not care if I was healthy. If I was blessed to be healthy for 22 years, I would have 30,000, 10,000, and 10,000. If I was blessed to be able to, if I started an era of NBA journeyman, I would be blessed to do it, bro. It's all good, bro. It's all good. Salute to LeBron. He's still top 3 of all time. He's still top 3.
Trey, where do you have LeBron at all time, bro? Is he number one to you? Is he not number one to you?
So I'm trying to figure out when BA said he's top 3. What's the 3 we talk about? I'm assuming Jordan is one. I'm trying to think who's the other one because he said
the copycat. The copycat.
Yeah, exactly.
KG.
Closest thing to him, I got Kobe. I got MJ, Kobe, and LeBron. And then after that, in the 4th spot, I got Kareem. And Kareem and LeBron are like this to me.
Why you keep putting Kobe Bryant over LeBron James, though? I don't understand that.
Because he's better. He was better than LeBron.
Yeah, at what?
Everything but switching teams. Everything but switching teams, bro.
Trey, who's your goat, bro? Where's LeBron land in all time to you, Trey?
So I'm a firm believer and I'm not tap dancing or backtracking. I'm a firm believer in the errors. Every error has its GOAT. I'm a firm believer in that. So of course, LeBron has done exactly for this era in which we're, in which we're coming up in to be considered the GOAT for this era. Well, his numbers kind of eclipse that of Michael Jordan. So I'm always a person that looks at why is that Michael Jordan continues to get the nod when the things are put forward. Of course, people bring up LeBron. He didn't finish X amount of he's been to the playoff, the championship this many times, and he lost this many times. Duly noted, got it. So it's a lot of goalpost shifting, in my opinion. But so the only way I can look at it is just different eras. There's no one. It's not like it's Tour de France, and we can basically say without an equivocal doubt that Lance Armstrong is the GOAT of cycling because he did it. We've seen him do it, even though he had a little help, presumably, possibly, allegedly.
Look at
but but for what we know, without that, he was that person. And Serena Williams, we can consider her a GOAT because no one else is touching her. Those we can. It's a little harder for basketball or even NFL. So when you talk about these positions to say an overall GOAT, basically, and I just think that that's basically where it is. But Kobe, as I took a look at Kobe, man, what I felt for Kobe 3 years ago is not what I feel for Kobe now. It is unfortunate, but yeah. So I think it just depends on where you're at. LeBron is definitely able to be mentioned in the GOAT conversation. And honestly, for me, I completely go opposite. I think Steph Curry's in that conversation now as well too.
Yeah, I think, and this is another thing this is on LeBron's jacket too, because I could have sworn Steph Curry got 4 rings in the LeBron era, doesn't he?
Here we go.
Doesn't he?
With who?
Hey,
With who?
KD got 2 rings.
Okay. Yeah.
Together.
I see what you. I'm saying what
Together.
you saying, Seven.
They had to form. They had to join together to beat LeBron. Y'all forgot.
Hey, they got 2 without him though.
You know what I don't like about this conversation?
They got 2. He got 2 rings in the LeBron era without him.
I don't believe Michael Jordan would have had the same career in this era of basketball with the talent and the athleticism and the skills of these players. I don't believe Michael Jordan would have had the same career against these types of players. LeBron, who's had the career against these types of players and with the skill set, would have done the same exact thing, if not more, back in Jordan's era. That's
Jordan
my thing.
Been better, but Jordan would have been better in this era. Yes, he would have been better.
Why? Because of the hand check rule?
Because not just because of that, but the game is so spread it out. Think about it. Jordan got all of these points with 2s. He wasn't like he got all of these with 2 points, bro. With 2-pointers, bro. Shooting 80-something%. And if Jordan would have added the 3 to his game, which he would have in this era, he would have been even more of a monster, bro.
So I think also looking at it, and which you brought up a good point, Seven, is what if LeBron had to adapt to that era as Jordan did, and he became potent as he was? What would that have said then? Can you imagine LeBron realizing I'm built like a Mack truck? I don't have to take this from y'all and just start running through people and pulling like a Kobe pulled up on Paul Gasol in the Redeem, like I'm just running through cats. Can you imagine that?
Way more athletic than any of them cats from New York, any of them cats from Detroit, any of them cats that Jordan faced.
He didn't have the feet to be in that type of era to be who you think that he is, bro. He did not have the footwork. You needed that type of stuff in that era, especially if you needed your back to the basket, bro. LeBron has been always physically gifted, but in those days, trying to run through people, dunk people gonna hit you with this, and it ain't gonna be no flagrant foul, bro.
Having good footwork in that time was a benefit to Michael, was a benefit to Kobe, but it wasn't needed. You didn't have to have great footwork to be a winner.
Yes, you did.
It was needed for them to be identified as who they are. But if you didn't have good footwork, didn't mean that you wasn't going to win a championship.
But from 90 to 2000, from 1990 to year 2000, name all the champions and name who the main people were that were on their teams. I can name them all.
And LeBron is better than all them guys.
All of them guys and all of those guys that were on those teams that won championships had amazing footwork, from Jordan to Olajuwon to Tim Duncan, period. Had amazing feet and controlled the game from their position.
From their position. That Olajuwon, David Robinson, you're right. You have one. You have one. I give you that. Yeah. One more question for you guys, and then I'm gonna sign off. Can y'all define, like, what's your definition of a franchise player? I mean, take as much time as you need, but how do you define a franchise player? I'll start with you, Trey.
So I think the definition of a franchise player is a player that is going to get the job done. Now, I was about to say likable or can be marketable, but instead is you don't necessarily need that, because we all know, we heard the conversations in reference to Kobe and how he was a savage and that people didn't like him or how things. So I think that you have to be first and foremost a player that stands on their own. And you are like, I was watching Swagger on Apple TV the other day. You have to be a 24-hour person at the end state, to where you basically have to be who you are. Who you are is who you are, and you stand on that. I think that starts to make up. And then, of course, with you being a player that they're willing to pay, they're willing to spend and invest in you, so that you're basically putting in the work. And making yourself to where it's hard to let me go or even think about it. Not just necessarily from a win aspect, just from the person you are. So we think about it. Always talk about Dr. Bus. how Magic Johnson was his 24-hour person, was this person. Now, I think in this era, Genie Bus reinvent the game. Kobe was hers. And and then going from now, it started to go to LeBron. So I think you have to have at least those things before we can even start to get into the conversation of your plan. But definitely, if you add into the fact that you're able to put up the numbers, then that's your franchise player right there.
BA, do you have to be the best player on the team to be a franchise player?
In most cases, yes. In most cases,
what's your
yes.
actual definition of a franchise player?
To me, it's a player that impacts his team 100% of the time that he's on the floor, whether he's making baskets or not. He's still impacting the team, and it is the organization's people's champ. You feel me? The person that's impacting the game, but he's not just impacting the game because he's a really great player, but the city and the fans are behind this player specifically. Period. He's selling jerseys, right? He's on commercials locally, like similar to Damian Lillard, franchise player in Portland. Why? Steph Curry, franchise player in Golden State, even though they had so many other pieces. Because I am the face of the franchise, because I am the people's champ. Everybody, when you mention this team, you mention my name.
Can you still have a franchise player by definition on a losing ball club?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I believe you. I definitely believe you can.
But I guess here's the flip side to that. You don't have, like, every team doesn't have a franchise player, though.
That's a fact.
Or does they? Or do they?
No, they don't.
Okay. So we're clear that just because you are a franchise, your roster, everybody doesn't have a franchise player. Because someone was trying to argue and debate that every team in the NBA has the face of their organization.
I think they have a face of the organization, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's your franchise player. Because when you take into consideration, look at Udonis Haslem, right? He stayed with Miami 22 years, and at least almost a decade or half that decade, he wasn't even a person that we've seen. He wasn't getting no playing time, wasn't getting no burn, but he was a part of that franchise. So you have those type of players. Andre Iguodala, up until he decided to leave. What's my man up in Oklahoma? He used to play at Kansas. White guy.
Nick Collison.
Nick Collison. You know what I'm saying? You have those types that, you know what I'm saying, they've been around the franchise. Hell, Robert Sacre was that dude for whatever reason in LA for a second. So everyone has that person that the franchise values because it's something that they do for the franchise, but they're not the franchise player. They're not the best player on the team, but it's someone that person values. So definitely, you don't have to be the top scorer or the top player in the organization, but you give something to it in which you doesn't necessarily mean you're the franchise player. In which, in terms, every team doesn't have a franchise player.
Yeah, look at did Toronto have a franchise player for real?
No, not right now. They don't. Definitely
right. That's what I was saying. Like the Detroit Pistons,
San Antonio, the Pistons,
right.
Like San Antonio, don't get me wrong, now and Pistons they might have. We still don't know yet. The verdict is still out, but there are a whole bunch of organizations that do not, and those are the ones that unfortunately really don't win. You feel me? But to get to what you were saying prior for a quick sec, Bradley Beal was a franchise player, and Washington wasn't winning. But he was the people's champ, though, in Washington.
And I think he brought value because he is the type of person that if the situation was right, another star would want to come to play with him, or another team would be more than happy to add him to their unit for success. So okay, I got you.
Because if you think about it, Bradley Beal, it's a good point. Bradley Beal was a player that they were not willing to give up to bring in people to potentially turn their organization around, and they was losing. They kept him up until it's like, you know what?
Yeah,
enough is enough.
That's a fact. So there's a lot of different elements when we're talking about defining a franchise player. And like BA said, and I agree 100%, it's not always about just on the basketball court. I think jersey sales, mentions on social media, being that face, I think means a lot. Like, even if you are a losing team, you still can have a franchise player depending on who that person is. But every team in the NBA doesn't necessarily have a franchise player.
That's a fact. Does Utah have a franchise player?
Not anymore. Not since Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Spider left. It's a bunch of organizations right now. It's probably a good 10. It's probably a good 10 organizations that don't have a franchise player yet.
All right, fellas, we are out, man. Salute to my brothers Trey and BA. Make sure y'all subscribe to BA with Get Your Bars Up Media on YouTube. My brother Trey at First Formation on YouTube as well. Fellas, I appreciate your guys' time as always. It's a pleasure. Did y'all have any final thoughts or anything y'all wanted to promote or get off before we sign out?
Trey, would you like to go?
Just as always, y'all know where to find me. The First Formation Morning Sports Talk, Trey the Commish, you know what I'm saying? It's always different things and stuff. Catch us talking about anything from the military sports to our regular sports. It's a whole vibe. We got something for everybody. Tap in with us.
No doubt.
Definitely. Make sure you tap in to Get Your Bars Up Media, where we talk battle rap, we talk hip hop, and we talk sports. Majority hip hop and battle rap, though, but you know we love our sports as well. And tonight, I will be hosting a big battle rap virtual event called Lounge Business, and it's gonna be free. It's gonna be on YouTube, and it's going to be via Jules Gaming Lounge. So if you type in Jules Gaming Lounge battle rap, make sure you subscribe to that channel and come support your boy. We're gonna have a couple thousand people in there tonight while we listening to battles.
And you don't need no NDA to rock out with my boy BA. It's unfiltered, it's uninterrupted. Talk and Get Your Bars Up Media, man. Salute to my brothers, man. Shout out to you guys. What time does the event start tonight, BA?
Yes, it will be 9 p.m. EST, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 8 p.m. Central Time. So a lot of y'all on the East, 9, West Coast, 6.
I already know, man. Make sure y'all tap, man. Trey, BA, man, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, man. I'm about to go ahead and sign out and get these boys together. Big up to the NBA community, man. I'm Seven Mitchell with the Best of Seven Sports Talk. Catch you guys on the next stream. Peace, y'all.
Peace and love.
Peace.